They're going to wonder what season we're in. You're all winterized. I'm still in summer.
Hey y'all, we are back between the Sundays here with Pastor Carol, who preached for us this past Sunday in our Belonging Together series. You had this idea of proclaim. So I mean, before we get into the text, I'm just curious, like, how do you approach a sermon? Like, how did you get into what you got into this week?
Well, I mean, I always read through the scripture a few times, kind of see what jumps out at me. And this week, the Deuteronomy text and the Romans text, talked about the word being in our hearts, in our mouths.
Yeah.
And then Romans goes on to talk about how the community of believers are to do that. But how does the world hear about Christ unless we are proclaiming it? And so that sparked my curiosity.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of thinking about storytelling anyway as a larger part of faith formation, and it just kind of all synced together.
Yeah.
And as a writer, I enjoy stories anyway.
Perfect.
Yeah. So
All melded together.
yeah, kind of did.
All right. Well, we have to start with the introduction to your sermon. You came out with a bang, talking about a Presbyterian house of horrors.
Yes.
I thought that was a really creative way to get us into the text. So, where did that idea come from? And your main point was like, evangelism is a scary thing, especially that word.
It is a scary thing. I mean, so it came out of me thinking about, it's scary to proclaim when we think about proclamation as evangelism, as getting out there and sharing the story of Christ with people. That's a really daunting task. And so I remembered back in my college years when evangelist brother Jed and sister Cindy would come to...
Which, Sister Cindy is still around.
Oh, she is. I looked her up.
She hangs out here at OU quite often.
Does she really?
Oh yeah, she's got a whole song about margaritas. It's
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll need
maybe
to go pay a visit.
we'll cut that song into the podcast if Chris is on his
interesting.
editing skills.
Yeah, they've been around for a long, long time, and I think they just had the circuit, at least back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so, and I think in the 80s there were lots of examples of people evangelizing that this Presbyterian kid did not feel comfortable with. A lot of judgy condemnation, you're going to hell, et cetera, et cetera. I think there was a thing about that time where there was a program for high school students, and they'd be shown like this car that had been in a terrible accident. Do you remember? Was this around? And so that was to kind of scare you straight about not drinking. This is going to be you if you do this.
Got it.
And it was always attached to Jesus in some way. So, I mean, it's not a terribly uplifting way of bringing people into the church.
No, and I think you made this really great point. I mean, you said, like, the definition of evangelism is just good news.
Yeah, to tell good news. That's it.
Yeah.
And so it's been kind of warped and distorted and twisted over the years. I don't know how. I mean, somewhere along the line, some religious strain grabbed hold of that word and really did a number on it. So I think it's time for us to kind of reclaim that.
Right.
And as Presbyterians, that's hard for us to do.
Yeah.
Because it's not been in our vocabulary for a long time, I think.
So if we're going to reclaim this idea of evangelism, of telling good news, like where do we start? And maybe particularly for folks who, Paul says the word is near to you. Maybe for folks who don't necessarily feel that to be true.
I mean, I think the way that we begin is just by, saying who we are, getting to know one another, being in conversation with one another, starting to build connections. I mean, I think part of part of this whole thing about storytelling is helping people feel like they belong. And I think when we say to one another, this is who I am, even if it's a small part, like, I don't like mushrooms on my pizza. Maybe you don't either.
Okay.
Or maybe you do. And we start having this conversation about that. So it's I think being brave enough to say who we are with another person, trusting that somewhere along the way, the more we do that, the more practice we have, I think the deeper connection happens, and the more I think we see patterns and connections of God in all of that.
So how... I don't think Paul was thinking about, like, your favorite toppings on pizza.
No.
He's talking about the word is close to you. So at what point do you shoehorn that conversation of faith, or not shoehorn, but like how does that
How does
part
it
get
move?
incorporated into that storytelling?
I mean, I think as trust is built,
Yeah.
and it's not so much we go out to convert people. I mean, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That's uncomfortable for me to do. But my hope is that the kind of connection I have with somebody, if they find out that I'm a Christian, and probably I will, maybe bring it up in some kind of conversation,
Yeah.
my actions towards them, my responsiveness to them, the love that I convey will say something about who God is to them, whether I use God's name or not, or whether I ever say Jesus or not.
Right. I'm trying to think, like, is there... I think partially for us, that's pretty easy stuff, because, like, people always go like, oh, what do you do for a living?
Yeah,
Well, I'm a pastor, and that always
yeah.
enters into
That empties the room.
that's
typically.
a fun story time telling.
Yeah.
For folks that don't have that immediate lean in, how can the faith side be part of their story? Like, is there an example? Is there like a template? How can normal folks
Talk about faith.
talk about faith that's not immediately
Not
tied
church.
to jobs?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I-
And maybe it's one
That's
I didn't.
why I ask it.
Maybe I didn't address it so much in my sermon. I mean, I guess I'm not so sure that it has to be this churchy language. Although, I mean, one way to do that is simply to say to somebody, you know what we did at church last Sunday? We did X. Or do you know what I heard in Sunday school last week? I heard this.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be, an immediate, you come with me. I want you to become Presbyterian, or I want you to become Christian. It's simply, maybe it's a very subtle invitation without it maybe even being an invitation. Just a conversation about, this is what we do on Sundays. We go to First Presbyterian Church.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
No, I think being honest about who you are and what you do, I think that subtle kind of tie-in of like, oh, hey, we collected 20,000 diapers at church last week, or I heard a really beautiful song on Sunday morning. I think that those are easy kind of tie-ins without scaring people away. And I mean, the other thing is I think more and more people are open to having those faith conversations. It's just those on like sitting in the pews, for those of us on the faith side of the equation, we're the ones who are really nervous to have that conversation. I'm not quite sure the person on the other side
Yeah.
is feeling as weird about it as we are.
But we do. And I
Yeah.
think Presbyterians in particular, maybe other mainline denominations do as well, but it typically has not been part of our Presbyterian code of conduct so much.
Right.
So we haven't had much practice doing it. And so I think starting at the smallest place you can to begin building up to having a conversation with somebody about faith
Yeah.
is the way to do it. And I don't know that conversation is ever, I mean, it almost feels like to me, if, I'm going to have this conversation with somebody in order that they come to church.
Yeah.
That almost feels disingenuous to me.
No, that's a great point.
And so to simply have, if I'm feeling good about my faith and my spiritual journey, then maybe I will feel comfortable talking to somebody about that.
Yeah. That's often, like, I'll tell people, you tell your friends the great restaurant you went to last
Right.
week or the cool movie you saw. The same should be true about your experience with church or with faith or your spiritual learnings. Like, you share those good things, that good news, just as you would of
Right.
the new taco truck you found down the street.
But the difference is, here's the difference.
Okay.
I think sharing with people about our spiritual lives puts us in it feels like it puts us in a very vulnerable spot. More so than, I ate 3 great tacos at the taco truck.
Yeah.
And so, again, I think that practice is a really good thing, so that it becomes more comfortable, becomes more natural to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great segue. So you quoted Mark Ianconelli saying that storytelling helps us step into another person's reality and feel kinship instead of judgment. How can that kind of listening, storytelling, that vulnerability help heal some of that loneliness and the divisions and polarizations that a lot of us are feeling today?
Well, I think it's just in having those conversations, even the most basic of conversations, we begin to open up to people. We become more vulnerable, and I think in our vulnerability, they're more apt to listen really deeply. And there's something really lovely about 2 people engaged with one another that can bridge those divides. That even if those 2 people maybe are on the different sides of a political issue, they find commonality in just being human.
Yeah.
By having those kinds of conversations. And I think in that, that's where kind of that sense of connection and belonging can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it. Thanks for a really beautiful sermon on Sunday, Carol.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, that was
Appreciate
great.
it.
All right, friends, that's it for this week. Like, subscribe, check us back here next week as we close out this Belonging Together series, and we'll see you then. Take care.
See ya. Okay.
I assumed this was my camera. Okay.
Okay.
This is always camera A.
Got it.